Fucking, why did we bet that?
Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
All right. I did that on purpose because no, I didn't. But the Bears were that bad, so I hit the wrong button. I hit the pause button instead of the mute button.
And we won't know until editing, but I might have slipped up at the beginning too.
Yeah,
the Bears got me swearing over here. I know we're explicit, but I almost never swear.
We're leaving it in though because it made me chuckle.
Need some little happiness on a day like today.
That's right. So welcome into episode 63 of the House Huddle Podcast. As always, Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On, my co-host and good buddy, Justin.
Am I supposed to huddle us up?
Let's do it. Ready?
All right. Huddle up!
All right. We did much better again than the Chicago Bears, but off to a bumpy start. I think it is. I'm not going to forget because we did it 2 weeks in a row. Episode 63, I said, Jay Hilgenberg episode, right?
We have to dedicate it to a center.
Yeah, after today with the snaps and the benching and then the snaps.
I mean,
when does Doug Kramer come back?
He's eligible to return already.
Yes.
Now he gets his 21 days of practice.
That's right.
I mean, you might as well throw him in there.
I mean,
what the hell's the difference at this point?
It couldn't get any worse.
You've got two centers that are veterans. Neither of them can snap. That's the first job you have as a center.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe calling out some pre-snap reads as well, which they sure didn't look good at that either.
No.
Very first play of the game, you let a guy come free and just destroy Fields.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't his injury, but he took a lot of hits today.
Some unnecessary hits, mostly because, in my opinion, the protection was bad. A few times where Justin Fields is just trying to do too much and either not throwing the ball away or just holding on to it too long or running for what was a minimal to no gain. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Okay, so I wanted to point out this is how bad this team was, and it all started on the opening drive. Okay, opening drive went for 8 plays. Okay, that included the kickoff, by the way. So the first play, -7 yards, sack. That was the play Justin was talking about. Very first play, the defensive end just comes unblocked. Justin Fields or whoever's on the line needs to recognize that protection and needs to make an adjustment, whether it's bring the tight end in, which I'm assuming was Cole Kmet on the play, or make a shift. I don't know. They need to do something to adjust to that for that protection.
Well, because all the linemen went to their right and picked up a guy, leaving the guy who was on our left, their right end, free shot.
Yeah. No one was there except for Fields, who instantly goes down. Way to start the game, right? -7 yards. Okay. The next play, Justin Fields rushes for 13 yards. Okay. Designed run, if I recall correctly. Okay. We're back into it. In fact, it almost looked like he got the first down, if I recall, on that one. But he stepped out, right?
He definitely did, though.
Yeah. Not like the DJ Moore situation. Definitely stepped out.
Or the TJ Edwards fumble recovery. Sorry. I just had to bring that up, but I'm pissed about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, he might have been like the one guy who had a really good game, by the way. Okay, so then the very next play, another run by Fields. It was another designed run, little designed QB draw, if I'm remembering correctly. And 8 yards, first down. We're moving. We're cooking.
On that play, the Vikings only had 2 guys with hands on the ground.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was like street yard football where you just come at them, which made it very easy for Fields to just run right past them for the first down.
Right. But then the very next play was this awful pitch to Darrington Evans that was just like, there was 2 guys in his face.
Well, you know why? You motion Velus as a decoy right to where you're going to make the play.
Yeah.
It made no sense. And then my first thought, too, was like, where's Foreman?
Right.
Foreman ended up getting a good share of carries and did okay.
He saw I think 60% of the snaps at running back. Darrington Evans is the better pass blocker, so it made sense that he was in there at times. But yeah, I mean, that guy was just picked up off the street. I know he was here last year, but you got some new faces, some new play calls. I mean, it's not going to be apples to apples.
Well,
right?
I don't think I wrote it down, but there was a play where you just mentioned Evans might be better in pass protection.
Yeah.
But he was the one that got backed right up into Fields on a certain play that wasn't the interception. Anyway, my point is he can't be that great at it. And like you said, he's a new addition. So
the interception, I think he wasn't on that play, also missed a block. But it was Larry Borum who just let the end get around, and then he got hit as he was throwing, and then it was like a jump ball. Whoever is going to get there. Tunyon tried to make it, but
we can get there.
Chance.
We can get there, but there were a few key times in the game where the Bears needed to capitalize on either a mistake of the Vikings or a good opportunity, and they just consistently didn't do it.
Yeah,
which is why you lose. I mean,
well, and in that regard. Again, fast forwarding there, that was off the Kirk Cousins, what I call an interception, even though they ruled it a forced fumble and fumble recovery. But it was a clear
UFFL.
It did. It was a clear catch. And
if you fumble forward 8 yards forward and it's caught by somebody, that's a catch.
That's a catch. Like, it's not like the ball was like blump, blump, blump off your head and then goes forward. No,
if a Viking caught that, I have a very hard time believing they would say, can't be advanced, bring it back to the spot of the fumble, all that stuff.
Right.
They would have said he caught it, tipped the ball.
Exactly. So.
Sorry, you didn't finish saying how bad this first drive was.
Yeah, okay. So that pitch, halfback pitch to Darrington Evans went nowhere.
Instantly behind the chains.
-5 yards. Okay, so this is already 2 negative plays. -7 on the first play. -5 on the fourth play. Very next play, another sack. -6 yards.
Did you write that down?
I did not.
It was a bad snap.
Bad snap. That was the first one, I believe.
That was the first of many.
Very many. Next play was it was 3rd and 21, and they weren't going to get a first down probably, but they throw this wide receiver screen that
Scott.
Yeah.
Tyler Scott.
I was blanking on his first name. Sorry. Thank you.
And I didn't say Travis for once.
Tyler Scott just drops.
Lots of blockers out in front of him. I don't know if it would have gotten 21. I don't think
he would have gotten 21. At most, maybe 8 to 10.
But this has been something he's been known for.
Right.
Not catching the ball.
Yes.
Not good for a receiver.
Now, he did make a pretty incredible catch later in the game.
Well, and he has probably a better connection with Bagent. Because in practice, they must...
Can I say, Bagent was not trying to complete that pass.
Which one?
The duck that he just came back for and catches.
Yes.
He was trying to throw that ball out of bounds and just did not get there. And it worked in the Bears' favor.
And when we were watching it, my son and I, you could just see the ball floating. There's like no one in sight.
I was just waiting.
He thought a Viking was going to come scoop in and catch it.
I was waiting for a pick six. And it was a good catch. I give him credit for coming back to the ball. He hustled for it. There's no loaf on that play, right? As Matt Eberflus would say, it was good. But it just kind of led into the interception that happened later by Bagent. And yeah, we'll get there.
So why do you feel that was such a bad drive? Just because it had many negative plays?
I feel like it was a bad drive because the play calling went bad again. Okay. And this is, I tweeted it out right then and there. Why are we going back to this bullshit?
I didn't like that pitch to Evans.
I didn't mind the design runs. Like, that was fine.
I don't think the wide receiver screen on 3rd and 21 is a bad call because it's 3rd and 21.
Right. I don't have a problem with it either.
So the one that stuck out to me was that run, that pitch.
No, my bigger issue.
So many weapons that you shouldn't be giving the ball to Darrington Evans at that point in the game.
Perfectly acceptable answer or reason to not like it. I think my bigger issue, because I don't care which running back was in there, I wasn't going to give it to either of them. My bigger issue with the whole situation was like, you had 10 days to prepare for this team. You knew that they were going to be coming at you. This wasn't going to be the Commanders that only bring 4 on most downs because they have that good of a defensive front. That's what it's just mind-boggling to me that Luke Getsy, and I don't know how much Matt Eberflus is involved in the offense, but like, at one point, you're a defensive-minded coach. you're helping them in that regard, right? Like you have to be helping them like, okay, this is what the defense is doing. This is what we can expect. This is how you go against it. So where were the quick passes? We saw it on the catch to DJ Moore. I love that play. He had 2 options. It was a quick read, 1-2, bang. Boom. That's how you stop a blitz. Where was the running back screen?
So go to that first play again. And I haven't watched it multiple times, but the blitz came. It wasn't even a blitz, really, to be honest. But
they
did brought someone else up the middle.
They brought 5.
They brought 5. But the right end immediately untouched towards Fields. Now, you're right. Kmet was outside of him. Yeah. So you either motion Kmet in to at least chip him.
Right.
Or doesn't Kmet have to be your hot route read?
Yes. Where's that in Justin Fields' mind? Right. That's on him too.
Like they have to make that communication.
Correct.
So something's lacking. It's disappointing to see at this point. And I don't even know what I mean by this point, because you could be saying at this point in the season, you could be saying at this point in Fields' development, at this point in Getsy's development.
And here's the problem. Now, Justin Fields is hurt. Okay, he was questionable to return. Reports are he wanted to return. The coaches held him out. X-rays come back negative. Now, reports are that he dislocated his finger, his thumb, right?
Throwing hand, of course.
On his throwing hand. Okay, so he's going to get an MRI tomorrow. The good news is that, it's not broken. I feel like if it was broken, his season would probably be over, right? I reached out to a couple doctors that are in the fantasy football realm. And before we knew that it was a dislocated thumb, I let him know, look, x-rays came back negative, MRI scheduled for tomorrow. I'm assuming it's more like a ligament sprain or a tear than it is a fracture. I was, in my mind, thinking 4 to 6 weeks. His response was it could range from playing next week to season ending, just because there could be multiple ligaments involved. Okay. So then, by the way, that was Dr. Jesse Morse with the fantasydoctors.com. Okay. He's big in fantasy football.
What does Dr. Truth think?
I have no idea who that is. Who's that?
Dr. Truth?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
That's like our commenter on our...
Oh, Dr. Truth. Yeah, I don't know. Are you really a doctor? I don't know. Let us know. Because if you are, I'd love to hear what your analysis is here. So I reached out to, and this guy, people probably are more familiar with, Mason West. He's a Chicago Bears guy. He says, with any dislocation, there is going to be multi-ligament damage as the bone moves out of the joint. In addition, tendons often get strained, leading to pain and muscle weakness. As noted, grip and pain is the issue. Okay, that's Mason West. I think the name of his podcast is Bare Bones, if you guys wanted to check him out. But again, grip, pain, and issue. So it's going to be same thing. It could be as early as next week as he's back. It could be multiple weeks where he's going on IR for 4 weeks. It could be that he's done for the season. It's going to all depend on that MRI, if he's going to need surgery. If he's not, is it a pain tolerance? There's a lot up in the air. But here's what I do know. If he misses any more than 4 weeks, we're in a tough situation to see, can he be that guy? We were already wanting to know, is he that guy? We were seeing development. I mean, last episode, we were talking about his numbers. His numbers were looking really good. I know today brought that down. I got to at least say there was an opportunity, maybe a chance that those numbers got better. We don't know. It wasn't looking good. But there was some positives. The Darnell Mooney play.
I was like, whoa.
By the way, Darnell Wright didn't have that great of a game. He struggled a little bit. Granted, I think he was going up against Daniel Hunter almost every single play, but he struggled at times, and he needs to be called out for it because there was many times that he was allowing Hunter in the backfield.
Well, sorry, real quick. Maybe the Bears' second drive.
Second drive was pretty good.
Second drive was very good.
I loved it.
But one thing that was not good from that was, once again, Blasingame chips the end and then goes out for a 1 yard completion. but Fields gets jacked.
Yeah.
Rolls up on Nate Davis. That injury looks like it could be serious. I don't know if you have any information on that. But
X-rays came back negative.
That
Another
had Carter come in. And later, I don't know if it was later that same drive or maybe their third drive, but I noticed there was major pressure and it came between Wright and Carter. And I think it might have been on Carter.
Yeah.
But like you see Wright react to it where it could look like he also may have missed the assignment. But
Sure.
Anyway, it wasn't a great game for Wright.
But he also didn't play a bad game either. There was many times. The Velus Jones run, did you see him out blocking on that one? Because he made a block, got to the second level. The guy was ahead of Velus Jones. Like, it was great run blocking.
Yep. So
I have nothing like bad to say about Darnell Wright. Like, he's a rookie. He's getting there. He's still he's playing better at this point in his rookie career than like Tristan Wirfs was in his rookie debut or his rookie season. So the sky's the limit for Darnell Wright. Okay. But let's mention that second drive. I loved it because Luke Getsy finally started doing some things differently. Like they started running the ball with the outside zone.
Well, you mentioned the good Velus run. That was on that drive.
The Velus run was on that drive.
And it maybe redeemed himself because that drive started with my son saying, "You're cut. You're off the team."
Yeah.
With whatever the hell he was doing as a kick returner.
I don't know.
It was a weird
Did he
play.
forget that you can fair catch now?
Well, it wasn't even that. Like, you could just let it bounce past you.
Well, that too.
That's what most guys would do.
And that's an issue that he had with punt returns for the longest time. And he's not returned any kicks this year, so maybe like he just got antsy. I don't know.
He had a good one on the first drive, and then one later in the game that I think got called back on a penalty.
It was on a holding penalty.
So
kind of irritated by it, but
okay.
So again, that second drive I thought was much better. I thought it was what I wanted, what I was going to see out of it. Like, okay, it wasn't just runs up the middle. They were doing some counters. They were doing outside zone runs. The passing game was quicker,
but all of that to lead to 3 points on a 22-yard field goal. When it really mattered, they stalled out.
So
let's see. The first and goal, I actually counted that as a bad snap. If you watch it, on first and goal, it was a weird low and very hard snap. Like he caught it like very low by his knees, and it was like a rocket at him. And Foreman ended up gaining some yards on it, but it was that was already the third bad snap of the game. Then second and goal, that's where I put maybe a missed assignment by Carter and others because it was second and goal from the 4, and Fields had like 4 Vikings on him instantly.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks is he almost got it to Kmet still. Like, I mean, it was at Kmet, but like in the dirt. But like, had he maybe had half a second more, that's a touchdown, just like in the Commanders game.
Right.
I mean, he was wide open, not wide open, but wide open in NFL standards.
So one guy did go right through Carter and Wright.
Yeah.
But it looked way more like Carter because it was one of those situations, I'd have to watch it again, where he didn't have anyone to block.
Sure.
So I'm like, dude, it's probably the guy that just ran right past you.
Yeah.
But either way, I think that was a drive that they possessed it for like 7+ minutes, 14 plays.
Yeah, 77
but
yards.
You got 3 points.
And Justin Fields took a shot to the head. Like, again, I think that was a bad snap too, wasn't it?
The third and goal?
Yeah.
I didn't.
You didn't mark it?
I didn't mark it as one.
Okay. Maybe it was just that he had pressure again and he decided to run.
And I felt like he held on to it a tick too long.
He did.
Before scrambling.
I didn't see
where
who
he
was
either
open.
Could have gone right away and got out or maybe found a receiver, but they showed just DJ Moore and he was pretty locked up. I don't know who his other options were or how tight the coverage was.
Yeah.
But that was a good drive other than the fact that you only got 3 out of it. But at that time, to control the ball that much, the defense was looking pretty good. And I'd say the defense on the whole was good today.
Defense was fantastic.
Because let's not forget, the team only gave up 19, and some of that was a fumble 7.
Yeah, defense was fantastic. You win this football game.
Yeah.
Especially with no Justin Jefferson. You have to win this football game. This is, in my opinion, a big black mark. We talked about it into this game. Big black mark on Matt Eberflus. He has not won a divisional game yet. He's 0 for 10.
10 days to prepare.
He had 10 days to prepare. These guys blitzed like 59% of the time. They had 23% of the time they were getting pressure. You're not accounting for it with your blocking scheme until Tyson Bagent came in. And then all of a sudden you see 6-7 man protections. And what happens? Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Tyson Bagent had a good game because he didn't. He was 10 of 14 for 83 yards. But he also didn't have a bad game, and he's a UDFA rookie playing in his first game ever. But there were decisions and throws that he was making in the intermediate game, the short to intermediate game, that we weren't seeing earlier in the game. And it's like, why wasn't that there when you were calling plays earlier? And it's because they weren't bringing the pressure quite as much also because they were going to sit back and try to let him throw the ball. But again.
But this team has failed. This coaching staff has consistently failed to make adjustments.
Yes.
And I guess to say how bad the first drive was, especially that first play, and then to have such a good second drive, though, maybe there were some slight adjustments there. Really, they pounded the run, which
there were some slight adjustments, but that's what you should be doing on a blitzing team. If they're constantly bringing you 5-6, you need to be getting your outside zone runs. You got to get to the outside. You can't run up the middle. Okay, that pissed me off later in the game. Okay, I mentioned it earlier and I got sidetracked, but going back, Justin Fields hits Darnell Mooney on a great throw, great route, great play. It was schemed open, fantastic. He had a little bit of time to throw, great play. Then they get up there and they run just a run right up the middle with no fullback. Like, it's just, what are you thinking there? It didn't make any sense to me. It's like, boom, I don't mind that you ran, but you got a good positive play for a huge chunk yards. And then all of a sudden, you're going to run up the middle against this team that you're at least run a counter, at least run to the outside, do something that's going to alleviate you from running right to where the blitzes are always coming in. And then I want to say I can't remember what the play was after that, but then it was 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8.
I put here Fields held on to the ball for a long time, finally hits the check down for a gain of 1 or 2. Did he miss more? I put.
That was the one where Moore had his arms up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did miss more. I don't know if he even looked that way. I'd have to go back and look. The replays today were
terrible
bad.
Broadcast.
Terrible. Like,
terrible.
They didn't show any replays, especially if there was like a bad call.
It was the broadcast of 2 1-4 teams playing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But then the next play, it was 3rd and 8.
3rd and 7, I put.
3rd and 7,
bad
okay.
Run for 2 yards.
Again, up the fucking middle.
Yeah.
Why? Why are you doing that?
Well, I complimented them in the Commanders game for recognizing when they were spread wide and going right up the middle.
Yeah.
But again, at this point, Nate Davis was not in the game.
Right.
Because I said it was when you mentioned how well Jenkins played on Thursday and getting him back was such a big plus.
Which he played well again today.
He did play well. And he does help really get the ground game going. But
Yes.
at that time, didn't seem like the right call. They did still get a 53-yard field goal. Santos has really expanded his range.
Yes.
And now is a very consistent, dependable kicker.
Perfect on the season.
So,
but I noted, why are we playing for the field goal? Because that's what it felt like. You're running up the middle. You're like, okay, we're going to settle for a 50-yard field goal. And it ended up being 53 because you only gained 2 yards.
Right.
Like, it's frustrating to me. Luke Getsy is a lot like Justin Fields. And he's got like moments where I see like, oh, this is great play calling. What are you thinking? Like, it's like, no, you can't be that inconsistent.
But that was my point of saying, are we too late to judge that? I mean, it seems like by now you should be seeing more consistency and performance out of Fields.
Yes.
But it seems that way about Getsy too.
Yes.
And I would say echo what you just said, which is sometimes I can't tell which is hurting the other more.
I think it's both. I think the blame game goes to both. And my situation here, and I said it multiple times, maybe not multiple, but at least I know I said it at least once. When we're thinking about the Justin Fields situation, trade him because I love Justin Fields that much. I don't think he's going to ever succeed here because it just seems like crap. And I'd like to see him have an opportunity somewhere else to put things together and actually perform. Because I think if he finds the right coaching staff with a decent line, that's what's going to happen.
Just real quick about that drive we just kind of detailed. Prior to that drive, I put key drive, 6:06 and a half. I must have had my memory still on that other drive that they were able to hold the ball, control the ball, move the ball. You could have milked the whole half down and gotten 7.
Yeah.
That's how you make a statement. Instead,
then
we talked about what they did. It didn't take much time. They got the 6. Vikings, though, right away give you the ball on what we thought was an interception. Turns out it was a fumble. So now you get this primo position. You're starting on their 35 with only 3 minutes left in the half. This is where you need to score a touchdown. You know they're getting the ball in the second half. You could have just stomped down. Instead, three plays in, Bears throw the interception back to them. They actually come down and score the first touchdown of the game. And our friend Bob said, prior to them scoring that touchdown, are the Bears not going to touch the ball again and be down 20-6? It didn't quite go that way, but that's what the feeling was when you could have done the exact opposite.
What's funny, though, is
capitalize
the game
on
should
that
have
turnover.
ended 20-6.
Yeah. Sorry. So after Bears got the fake interception by Edmonds, they did a design run for Fields for 1 yard, tight end screen to Jenkins. Or sorry, tight end screen. I put Jenkins missed an obvious block. I don't know. I'd have to look at that again. That brought up the 2-minute warning. I said, need to convert, get 7 on this drive, take up the remaining time. Nope. 3rd and 2, stupid interception. And there, if you're ever gonna run up the middle, maybe 3rd and 2 would be a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Not 3rd and 7. But
right. Yeah. Why are you gonna throw?
You needed 2 yards. It didn't even look like there were any routes that were short.
No.
And the blocking sure wasn't good enough.
No.
So I didn't understand that drive, and the game was kind of lost after that.
Yeah. All right. Let's set up here for a break. And when we come back, I want to talk about some positives that we saw today. Okay. Got some positives. I know you don't believe me, but there's some positives. And we need to talk about the future. And there's a name that Justin brought up in a text message that he said, can we go this show without bringing it up? And I told him no, and this is why. So we'll be bringing that name up on the other side of the break.
But we made it this far in without saying it, so that's impressive.
Yes, we did. But it's going to be impossible not to discuss it a little bit.
All right, fair enough.
Enjoy these ads.
I was mesmerized by the new graphics. Way to go, Rob.
Yeah.
So before the break, Rob mentioned there were some positives. Didn't feel that way because the Bears fell to the Vikings and fell to 1-5 on the season. But I do believe there were a couple of things that we could look at as positives. But I'm really going to have to toss it over to you, Rob, to kind of lead us in that. And then maybe Mr. Sunshine over there will bring it out of me.
So I'm going to tell you guys, I am numb right now. This is like my feeling of this team, this franchise. Like it's numb. Like I'm just sick and tired of feeling this way almost on a weekly basis, right? It's just been a letdown after a letdown after a letdown. And here we get all this hope in the offseason. And I wasn't like putting this team into double-digit wins, but to be 1-5, like with this schedule, it's disgusting. And we're talking about a lot of the same things this year as we were talking about last year. But before we get into where this team is going in the future, there were some bright spots. And a lot of people were complaining about this team hasn't won a game since Roquan Smith was traded. They did finally last week. But Tremaine Edmonds, and especially TJ Edwards, who has not played very well this year, who started to show up a little bit last week, really showed up this week. He was, I wasn't even trying to see him play, and he was constantly showing up. Those two had probably the best combined game I think that they've had as a Chicago Bear. That's a positive. TJ Edwards might not be here next year. He's only on a 1-year contract, but Tremaine Edmonds will be. And I think just seeing him put things together over the last few weeks is good because, again, you're replacing an all-star linebacker in Roquan Smith, who, by the way, didn't get that recognition until he went to Baltimore. Okay, maybe from the Bears fans he did, but not on a national perspective. Okay, he was never voted to a first-team All-Pro. Last year was his first Pro Bowl appearance, and he played half the season with Baltimore. So Pro Football Focus constantly gave him bad grades until he went to Baltimore. So it's frustrating to see that happen. But again, I think it's just the mentality that the national media has, I think, sometimes of this organization. So those were two bright spots. The defensive backfield was a bright spot. I know they didn't have Justin Jefferson to defend, but Jordan Addison is a really good wide receiver. Okay. First round pick, my top receiver coming out of this draft class, has been fantastic for me for fantasy, by the way, out of one game. And he helped me out a little bit again today since he snagged the only Kirk Cousins touchdown. But it's not like he's a scrub. I know it's not Justin Jefferson, but I never felt like, oh, Kirk Cousins is just like eating us alive. Like that just never happened. And he's been one of the best statistical quarterbacks, maybe not when it matters, but statistical quarterbacks this season. Maybe that's because Justin Jefferson, who we did talk about, has more than 50% of their receiving yards. But you got Hawkinson. I mean, they were doing a pretty good job containing that offense. And we have to give the defense credit. And that, I think, goes also to Matt Eberflus. As much as I think he's doing a poor job as a head coach, he has turned things around as the defensive coordinator since Alan Williams left. That first game, rough. But you also have to think he wasn't planning on being the defensive coordinator that week, right? Like that was just kind of thrown upon him. I think he will never amount to being a good head coach. And I think maybe he needs to be like Vic Fangio and realize, hey, I'm just a defensive coordinator. Once I'm done here in Chicago, I think that's what I need to just focus on. But again, the defense as a whole, I think, showed a lot of promise. There was a lot of guys just getting after it on the defensive line. Even Dominique Robinson. I made a comment on Twitter. Dominique Robinson, what were you doing? You didn't bite inside. You got there early, so it kind of helped. But you contained, and he held a play, like stopped the play from gaining huge yards. Like those are things that we have not seen from that player at all.
So I guess I'm looking for bright spots here, but I'm just going to read some things to you from the box score. Time of possession. One of the teams had 24 minutes, 49 seconds. One team had 35-11. Bears, 35-11.
I was going to say Chicago dominated.
So you had more time possession by over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
First downs, 12 to 18.
But that again speaks to the defense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
First downs, 12 to 18. Bears had the advantage there. Third down,
that's what I was waiting to see.
conversions.
At one point, it was only 1 of 5.
Okay, what do you think it ended? You know, I don't know what they came in on the season, but 60% would be a fair judgment, I'd say. Fair estimate.
I'm going to guess they were 3 of 10.
2 for 13.
Whoo!
And 1 for 2 on fourth down. So I'll just throw that in there.
But one for 2 was like a tush push. You weren't going to stop it.
And they almost did.
The closest I think I've seen.
6 for 14 for the Bears on third down. 0 for 1 on fourth down. Total yards, 220 for the Vikings.
Can we
275 to the Bears.
Can we speak to that 0 for 1 for a second? That was the play that Bagent threw the ball to Tyler Scott.
Caught it,
but out of bounds.
Yeah. We didn't know why they were going for it there.
The 2 plays before that were back-to-back wide receiver screens.
Yes.
And the one to DJ Moore was horribly set up.
Well, Mooney blocked like he was Chase Claypool.
But you also couldn't even get there because the defender knew it was coming.
Yes.
Like, there was no way for him to get across.
He had the training wheels on at that point.
Right.
It was very bland play call. And then you decide to go for it on fourth down when you could pin them instead.
But later
it
in
did
the
not
game,
make sense.
And I don't know if I have to give this credit to Luke Getsy for changing things up or what. But later in the game, they hit Moore on a screen. And he gained like 4, 5, 6 yards. And if you look at it, Bagent faked the throw to the opposite direction before turning and getting it to Moore. And it's like, where was that? I understand he's a quarterback that hasn't played in the NFL and you have to do things vanilla with 1 to 2 reads. And that's what we were seeing all game from him. He did it well. I'll give him credit. He did it well outside of the interception. But like, you got to You can't just let the defense know what's going on all the time. We've been talking about that all season with Getsy.
Predictability has been a problem. So total yards, Bears 275, Vikings 220. Passing yards, not so great. Although you held Cousins, who, like you said, is known for putting up
under 200,
numbers.
Right?
181
yeah.
for the Vikings, 141 for the Bears. That's not great. Rushing yards, Bears 162, Vikings 46.
Yeah.
So goes on and on. Actually, penalties, 5 for each team. Bears weren't as many yards on theirs, although they came at dumb, weird times. But turnovers, 3-1 on turnovers. Now, there was one that should have definitely been a turnover. Cousins every once in a while will just make the dumbest plays.
Yeah.
Where he threw it backwards. It was a fumble. Akers tried to knock it out of bounds.
Yep.
Edwards recovers it.
Yeah.
His hip is on the ground and he's holding the ball.
Yeah.
Now his foot comes down out of bounds, but if you have a hip on the ground, that counts as 2 feet. And they were reviewing. I thought they were just reviewing if it was a fumble, which didn't seem like they needed to.
Or where they needed to spot the ball.
And on the field, wasn't it ruled a recovery?
I thought so.
So it should have been hard to reverse. And
Correct.
yet they reversed it. And once again, the broadcast wasn't that clear on what was really going on.
And then on top of it, was that also the drive right before? I think it was the drive that happened right before the missed PI. I literally screenshotted it and put it on Twitter. They didn't call a pass interference penalty after Justin Fields was pissed off that they didn't. I can't remember who he was throwing it to, maybe Tunyon. And the defender was all over his back.
Yeah.
Blatant PI call. And then they never, they talked about how Fields was mad about it. And I think even Eberflus was yelling at the ref about that situation. And yet the broadcast never showed a replay. Never talked. They talked about it oh, that was a good defensive play. Come to find out that it was Vikings running back.
Oh, Robert Smith.
Yeah, so he's not biased at all.
Yes, that play, that missed call was pivotal, but the Bears defense clamped down after that.
Yes.
And the Bears got the punt, then had that great play to Mooney, so that kind of negated it, I guess you could say.
Sure. Padded Justin Fields stats a little bit.
But all of those stats, and then you throw in the turnovers, and that's where the game is lost.
Yeah.
Now, Hitt's principle is about taking the ball away. There were several times, as well as the defense played, there were several times where I was like, we need to force a turnover. This is where you need a turnover. And it just didn't come.
Yeah.
I still didn't really see sacks. The Edmonds interception now is a TJ Edwards sack, strip sack.
That's true.
But I think was that the only one? They didn't really bring Cousins to the ground.
No.
Or put that much pressure on him. There were a few times he was
one.
pressured. Let me see.
Yeah, I was going to say, can't we just look?
2 sacks, yeah. I don't know what the other one was. Well, I could see who it was by. Let's see. Defensive fumble or sacks. 1 to TJ. Brisker had half a sack along with Walker, who had a couple of good plays.
Brisker actually, I thought, played well too.
It was a couple times in coverage. I wasn't too happy with his effort. Yeah. Not effort, just the result, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but his behind the line of scrimmage play was really, really good. I thought.
There was a one where they did an end around and he really helped contain and flush the guy back in.
Yeah, that was more on him.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for telling me there were some positives. But all in all, you're a 1-5 team. The only team worse than you in the league is 0-6. But
that's another positive.
You have their pick. So
I was going to go there. I'm glad you set me up. That was the other positive. The Panthers started out 14-0 against Miami, and I'm like, what is going on?
I had no doubt Miami would win.
Even
when they were down 14-0.
I had no doubt either. Although I was worried they'd cover, right? Because they had 13 and a half.
I think spread was. Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it was 13 and a half. I was like, oh, I'm glad at least I didn't bet them. But turns out that I should have bet them because they dominated them. So that was good too, right? The Tyson Bagent situation, I still think is a positive also.
I like him.
He played well enough to prove that, look, I can at least be a backup in this league. What I don't want to hear, and I'm already seeing it, is now there's a quarterback controversy.
No, there isn't.
And it wasn't his fault on that interception because the ball was tipped. It wasn't tipped, by the way.
No.
He got
fully step into his throw.
He couldn't step into the throw because there was pressure. I get that. But if that's the case, then don't throw it.
That's not the throw then.
Right. And he made enough rookie mistakes where I'm like, no. But there's promise there. He can be a backup, and maybe he can develop into being a starter.
Yeah, I mean,
you never know.
He was only taking one pick after Brock Purdy.
That's right. And Brock Purdy looked like a pedestrian today against Cleveland. So
yeah, not good.
Granted, he was missing CMC and Debo for a good chunk of the game.
So the Bears at this time last year, through 6 games, were they 3-3?
No, they ended up being 3-4. So it was the week 7 that they got their next.
Oh, so they were 2-4.
2-4. I'm
trying to think when we did our mock off season. Our first one. We did several.
I want to say it was like after the Eagles game.
So they were probably what, 3-7 or something. It's already feeling like we're due. Is basically what I'm saying. But that's
the problem. Like, okay, so the Detroit Lions went 1-6, and then like won out the rest, or only lost one more game, right? And finished 9-8. Missed the playoffs.
I think so.
Okay. A few people have actually spoken, like from the Bears organization, have spoken to that record, right?
Yeah. Hey, we could be the Lions.
This team does not feel like the 1-6 Lions.
And especially not if Fields is out for any amount of time.
Right. Now, that's where we need to go. And this is you're setting up these transitions perfectly. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. Even if he does come back, is he going to be limited because he doesn't have the grip and the strength, right? Are his throws going to be weird? Are we able to truly judge him? So now, what I wanted to do for this episode was a best case, worst case scenario. They're like one of my favorite things to do. But it was dependent on Fields finishing the damn game.
We're living out the worst case scenario right now.
Pretty close. So I don't want to go to there because of the way that the outcome of the game was. But if we're fast forwarding to the end of the 2024 season and the Chicago 2023 season, I'm jumping way ahead.
You might as well.
And
in 2040. All right. What do they got?
Wait, what was the SNL? There's like, we're turning in our tickets from 1993 to 2032, and we expect the full refund.
Yes. That's how it's starting to feel. Sorry, we keep going.
So the Chicago Bears have the first pick in the overall draft. I don't care if it does matter if it's from Carolina or if it's from Chicago. Because let's say Fields does play another 8 games, plays well, proves it enough. Okay. The problem is we are in the unknown. We don't know how many games he's going to play with this injury. We can't speak to it. We can't really speculate because, as I said earlier, he could be back next week. He could be out for the season. Okay. If by chance the Chicago Bears have the first overall pick because of the Carolina Panthers, are you then taking Caleb Williams because you can't see what happens with this team? Does it depend on if you're firing your coaching staff? Does it depend on if Ryan Poles is fired? Which, by the way, I don't think is happening. Okay? The guy his job was to tear this thing down the first year. You're seeing a lot of his rookies perform well enough.
He got DJ Moore.
I mean, he kind of lucked into it, but he got DJ Moore. He still worked the negotiation of the trade, right?
Right.
And they didn't want to give up DJ Moore. Like, he basically said, look, it's this or nothing. And
now they think they're a receiver 1 away.
What a joke. I will say, though, that his pro personnel scouting needs a little bit of help. There's been some But he also
you already mentioned, though, getting Tremaine Edmonds, getting TJ Edwards. These were good pickups.
Correct.
I like what we've seen out of Billings. I mean, I don't want to act like all of his moves have
been.
No.
I said just some have been
Okay.
And not even like bad, just Okay, wait, no bad. Al-Quadin Muhammad was bad. But again, you're seeing some of these guys go to other teams. But you're seeing some of those other guys go to other teams, and they're performing. Right? Like, it's a little frustrating. Okay, but let's get back on track. Are you taking... That's the guy's name, by the way. Justin said, are we going to get an episode without saying Caleb Williams? By the way, George Pickens, because I haven't said that one in a while, and I'm contractually obligated. I've been getting fined. Has not been... He's been pretty good. Okay, so Caleb Williams. Are you taking Caleb Williams in that situation? Let's use the fact that the coaching staff is gone.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
And Ryan Poles is still here.
If you take Caleb Williams, you have to have a new coaching staff.
Yes.
I just think that's a given.
I agree.
So now the weird part of saying that though is kind of what you're implying, which is if you have the number 1 pick because of Carolina,
Yes.
but your pick is like 15.
I don't think it'll be that good.
I don't think it will be either.
7.
That's why I was trying to
Let's say
really enhance it.
Yeah, let's say 7.
Let's say it's out of the top 10 because that's probably the best they could do is 11 or 12.
Okay. So now they're the Lions, and they came
exactly
back in one.
And you feel like Eberflus did show some kind of bounce back.
Sure.
It'll be hard to say we're taking Williams, you're fired.
Correct.
But I think if you take Williams, it should be with a clean slate, new coaching staff, offensive minded, somebody to really grow with this once in a generation quarterback.
Yes. Which now some people are saying he's not a generational talent because he looked like garbage for half a game against arguably one of the best defenses in college, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I watched a good chunk of that game. I didn't get to see all of it. Lincoln Riley, I blanked on the coach's name. Lincoln Riley did not do Caleb Williams any favors. If you are a Justin Fields supporter and you want to bash the coaching staff for not being able to keep Justin Fields upright, then you need to bash Lincoln Riley because every down, it seemed like they were bringing at least 5 guys, Notre Dame was, and they did nothing to help him. It was basically 5-man protection every single down. They did absolutely nothing. They weren't running the ball the way they should have. Now, did Caleb Williams force those interceptions? He threw 3 of them. Did he force them? Yes. But that game got away from them. I'm not going to judge him because of the outcome of that one game. I still watched him in the pocket, poised, making throws. And what I want to get out there because so many people seem to think that Caleb Williams is throwing to open guys every single. No, he's not. It's not like, and I love Justin Fields. He was my second quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence in that draft. I wanted Chicago to get him. I thought the fact that they traded up to 11 and got him was fantastic. But a lot of Justin Fields' throws were wide open throws to his receivers. That's not always the case with Caleb Williams. He's throwing anticipatory throws already at the collegiate level. I still think Caleb Williams is a better prospect than Justin Fields. That said, I hope you guys didn't get away yet because I know I haven't said hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get a free jersey, all that stuff. If you're still with us, do that. Subscribe, get a chance to get a free jersey. But if you're a Chicago Bears fan, this is what you should be rooting for. You want Caleb Williams to be great. You want Drake May to be great. You want Justin Fields to be great. You want all 3 of those things to happen because the best case scenario is you get to keep Justin Fields, trade out of the first pick, or take Marvin Harrison Jr. with the first pick. Like Julian said to you today, you end up with that second pick, which you probably won't because you have Fields. You're still, let's say, I still don't think they're getting out of the top 10. But let's say they have a top 10 pick. 10. Okay. They were 9 last year when they traded down with Carolina.
You have 1 in 10.
Okay, 1 in 10. You're still getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and either a left tackle, an edge rusher. You're getting a legit starting. Like this year, they got Darnell Wright. Fantastic right tackle.
So you're confusing me a little bit, though, because here's the thing. If Caleb Williams is great, if Drake May is great, and if Justin Fields is great, it's still not an obvious solution for the Bears as to what to do because you kind of said if you think Caleb Williams is a better prospect, which I think a lot of people do, than Fields, there is a distinct difference, which is you'd be getting in on year 1 of control.
Sure.
Whereas Fields, you're already at the point where you need to now make a decision on a 5th-year option.
I agree.
And the money will have to follow that. So I don't know what we're saying is this injury is nothing. He comes back next week, bounces right back to what he was doing against Denver and the Commanders, and carries that or close to that out the remainder of the season. With that, maybe you're like, okay, Fields is our guy, and if Carolina's pick is 1 and yours is 10, then I'm not taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm having a sale for that number 1 pick because somebody wants to come up and get Caleb Williams. So you don't just let the second team pick Caleb Williams.
Yes.
You go and get some draft capital with that pick. But maybe you say, I'm not dropping out of the top 5.
But I think also, and then maybe you missed it, but the first thing I said was you trade that pick or you take Marvin Harrison Jr. It depends on what you're getting feedback from.
You trade that pick and still get a guy like Marvin.
But if
Harrison
you can
Jr.
trade down and you're still in the top 3, you're guaranteed to get him because 2 quarterbacks are going 1 and 2, right? And you got the kid out of Washington. I'm blanking on his name right now. Michael starts with a P.
The quarterback?
Yeah, who also could be Penix, who also could be pushing up the draft boards, right? So let's say 1, 2, 3 go as quarterbacks, and you're at 4 or 5. Let's say the Cardinals want to move up. They have 2 first-round picks. Do you get both of them? It's possible. So again, as fans, we should not be cheering against Justin Fields and rooting for Caleb Williams. We should not be rooting for Justin Fields and cheering against Caleb Williams. You should be cheering for both because both play an important part in this franchise's future.
If the draft was today, I hate saying stuff like that, especially we're only in week 6.
So now we got 1 and 2.
Bears have 1 and 2.
Yes.
And Fields has clearly not proven he's the dude.
Correct.
In that scenario, so I'm saying you end up with 1 and 2 and you're pretty sure you're not taking Fields.
Correct.
Fields would still have trade value.
Yes.
Because like you said, in a different system with a different coaching staff, could he be something?
Yeah.
Maybe. So in that scenario, Caleb Williams at 1, you're taking.
Sure.
Now, I'm trading pick 2 because you already got Caleb Williams. And like you said, quarterback makes a whole lot of sense in this draft.
Yep.
All the people who wanted Williams, who know they aren't going to get him at that point, are going to want to come up to 2 to get May. You trade down, not too far. You try to stay in the top 5 if you can.
You're not doing.
You don't go way back.
9 like
you trade from 2 to 4. You trade from 2 to 5. Maybe you get 2 picks, and you're trading Fields. Yep. Hopefully for another number 1. Like that is really setting yourself up. Now, I don't want to say the whole thing about Caleb Williams saying he doesn't want to play for certain teams. I've heard that's not even a substantiated report. But hold on.
I got to talk to that though when you're done.
Okay, you can talk to that when I'm done. But here's my point. If he stops and thinks for a moment, not to mention Chicago's a big media market and all that stuff, this team could be set up pretty well with what we just talked about. You'd be getting another top 5 pick to join you. You'd be coming to DJ Moore as a wide receiver 1. You not only are you getting another top 5 pick, in this scenario where we're saying trade back and accumulate other things, you probably have 3-4 picks in the top 15. So you'd be coming with talent to a team that's building.
Right.
But I don't know why you think you're that good of a prospect, but you're going to go to a golden situation. That's not how it works.
You're not.
But go ahead. I think you have a response to that.
So I was at a kid's birthday party yesterday, and there was conversation about Justin Fields and how he's not good. And I had to step up and stand in for him or step in and stand up for him. But at the same time, I came into the conversation halfway and I said, look, I don't know what the conversation started out as. If you're talking about Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields, Caleb Williams is the better prospect. Before I get into this story, I do think there's a difference between being the best prospect and also seeing NFL level talent already. So when I say Caleb Williams is the better prospect than Justin Fields was coming out of college, that doesn't necessarily mean that Justin Fields can't be a better option at this point in his career than taking the risk of drafting a top prospect. Okay, so that's partly where I was at with that. But they started talking about how Caleb Williams listed off a team, made a list of teams. I have not seen a substantiated source where that came from. I've seen stupid shit like ML football rumors and JL, whatever, all these stupid Twitter things that I've seen it on, started on social media. I have not seen it. Apparently he listed 5 teams that he wanted to play for. Okay. The Raiders were one of them. The Cowboys, I think, were one of them.
Vikings for some reason. Maybe he's a Prince fan. I
don't know. The 49ers was one of, like, first of all, half those teams aren't even going to have a chance to get him. Okay. Maybe the Vikings, but
not after today.
Not after today. That's right. This helped in that regard. But again, like, I've not seen a substantiated source that has actually said this. There's also now rumors going around that Caleb Williams wants part ownership in whatever team drafts him. Can you guys just stop with the bullshit? Okay. The rumors that originally came out was, and this is why I know it's bullshit, Caleb Williams has 5 teams that he's willing to play for. He will not play for any other teams. And if one of those teams are not picking him, he's going to go back to USC and he's going to make more money playing in college. Bullshit. Bullshit. Okay? I got to get as many bullshits in there to get our not extreme. What the hell? Explicit version. Thank you. The most he can make is like $2.5 million in the NIL.
What do you mean? I don't know why it would be limited.
It's based off there is a cap.
Oh, really?
Yes. This is from what I heard from ESPN. Okay. ESPN was saying that the most that he can make is $2.5 million. Roughly. I don't know if that's the exact number.
I've never heard that.
Okay.
That surprises me, actually. Because I think once you have the rights to your name and likeness, then it's a free market, basically, of who's willing to pay you for that.
I will confirm, and we will talk about it in the next podcast. But this is what I heard from ESPN.
I still think it's not true.
Chris Bleck and Adam Adala. Okay. The signing bonus for the number one pick in the NFL is $27 million. Like, even if it's more than $2.5 million, you're not getting $27 million.
If you're right about the cap at 2.5, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. As the number one pick, you probably land endorsements right away.
That's the other thing.
That would go above that.
Correct.
Instantly.
And
he's not just a regular number one pick.
No.
He's this generational hyped one.
And he's also like unique. Like, he has his own sense of like style. Like, some people are against him because he paints his nails. Like, he's going to get endorsements immediately. Like,
I mean, he could even get Chase Claypool's agent and do fashion shows.
That's right. That's just his signing bonus, right? That's not even like the full contract.
Plus, the other thought is all these big time quarterbacks, what it's about is making it through your rookie deal to that big time payday.
Yes.
Are you going to push that back a year? Or, I mean, and I guess, does it matter in the long run if it's a year later? Maybe not. But the idea would be you get in. I mean, he's already won the Heisman. I don't know if he'll win it this year. I think the game he just had in Notre Dame is a big red mark against him unless he bounces back from that.
Okay, I was wrong. I misunderstood. It wasn't a cap. Okay, it's the most that he's made so far. And he's, I think, fourth on the list of all collegiate athletes. Okay, so Bryce Young last year made $3.2 million. CJ Stroud, $2.5 million. Caleb Williams was $2.4 million.
Are these all just football players? Because I thought there has been some
I'm just looking
female athletes who are like TikTokers.
These are just
and are making crazy amount of
money. There's
a
girl athlete. I think and then there's like two twin basketball players or something that are making more also. But this is just NCAA football athletes. Last year, Caleb Williams is number 3. He's clearly going to be number 1 this year, right? With the other 2 out of football. But at $2.4 million, like, he's not going to see that increase up to $20 million, right? Like, it's just math. So again, the point is he's not going to make more money staying at USC. He's just not. And to have that rationale and say, oh, I'm going to pick and choose where I go. No, that's not going to happen.
Here's what I don't understand. He's made enough money, and I don't know him or his family situation or any of that, but it sounds like he's made enough money where money doesn't have to be the only thing that determines this decision.
Sure.
So he could opt for many reasons to stay.
He has also said that he wants to win a national title.
Right. And he could opt for many reasons to stay. But here's the thing. Then the very next year,
it's going to be another bad team.
That's what I'm saying.
It might even be the Bears.
You're going to go to the number 1 pick. So you don't get to pick your situation.
Right.
I mean, there have been a few quarterbacks to kind of manipulate that.
Well, and there's rumors
Eli
about
Manning,
that now, too.
John Elway stand out.
There's rumors about that now, too. Now, Caleb Williams' dad has already reached out to Archie Manning on how to force a trade. And honestly, yes, Eli Manning did end up winning Super Bowls, but did he get into that better of a situation going to New York at that time in his career?
Well, I mean, maybe it's the difference between New York market and San Diego. They were San Diego back then. That was not me misspeaking.
But that's money. That's not football situation. That's money situation.
Was that part of it? I don't know. We're getting way off topic, but this is what the Bears have done to us.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, had they finished in Denver, had they came with a good plan today, it could be a whole different vibe. But here we are already what's 2024 look like? 2026? Sure. And hey, what's 2040?
Let's end it. I just want to say again, the best situation for the Chicago Bears is Justin Fields finding a way to play enough games, prove himself good enough as a franchise top 10 quarterback. You still end up with the first pick in the draft. You trade that. You land multiple top 10 prospects to go with Justin Fields. That's how you build this team.
So just real quick, Carolina 0-6. Next week's their bye, so they won't lose. They'll be 0-6. But I looked at their schedule. I can't see them winning. I'd be shocked if they won 4 games. Just to put that out there. Now,
and Chicago,
they do play the Bears, so help us if that's their win. But just real quick, Panthers. They have the Texans, the Colts, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Bucks, the Saints, the Falcons, the Packers, the Jaguars, the Bucks. I didn't hear more than, I'd be shocked if they won 4 of those.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a team that's going to finish 4-13 at the best, maybe 3-14, maybe 2-15. So number 1 could come to them through the Panthers. It's just a matter of right now, the Bears' own pick is number 2. And that's kind of not acceptable at this point in their, whatever you want to call this, rebuild or build. It's not looking great. So we're not going to probably shoot an episode anytime this week, but the thing to be on the lookout for is any news on Justin Fields' injury.
Yeah. If something big comes, I might just do a quick short on it. But it's rough out there, but we're gonna be here. We almost didn't do this episode, but we're gonna be here. I might just next week be in my Dolphins jersey. I don't know.
From GQ to Dolphins, hey, anything goes if the Bears keep
I
playing
guess
like
maybe
this.
I got to dress nicer. That's when they win.
They had already won.
That's true.
You got to have another surgery.
Maybe that's what it is. Although, let me tell you something. That was less painful than what I watched today.
That's a good plug for wherever you had it done.
Yeah.
So I won't mention them. I don't know, but I don't think you should either.
No, they're not a sponsor of the show. They want to sponsor us. I might talk them up.
All right, man.
All right, bear down.
Bear down.